Andrew Goldberg, Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. Want to email help@employmentlawyer.ca. You can always roll over to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. You'll stumble upon the severance calculator, which is a great tool. Over 2 million Canadians have put that to good use and figured out what their severance really should be.
Today, big news of RBC purchasing the Canadian arm of HSBC. This is purportedly the largest acquisition of one Canadian bank of another. It's going to have drastic implications. But, what happens if you work for a company that's purchased by another company? If you're an employee with HSBC and you lose your job as part of this acquisition, who owes you severance? Is it HSBC or is it Royal Bank as the purchaser? And the answer is HSBC would owe you severance if you lost your job as part of that acquisition. Usually the seller is going to be on the hook for the termination obligations if you're not continued to be employed with the purchaser. Another big question people always have is, I was offered a new job with the purchaser. So in this case, if you work for HSBC and you're offered a job from RBC, what if I don't want to take that job? Do I still have severance entitlement? And the answer to that is, like a lot of things, is it depends. So for instance, if you have a really good reason not to accept it, so let's say RBC says, we'll take you on, but we're cutting your hours, or we're changing your hours fundamentally, or we're changing your pay and cutting your pay, then if you decline in that scenario, you certainly could get your full severance entitlement just because of that fundamental change, of course. But interestingly enough as well, even if you don't really have a good reason to continue with RBC, if everything stays the same and your job is exactly the same and all the terms are the same, then even without a good reason, you could decline to continue with RBC, but you wouldn't get your full severance. You would only get your minimum entitlements, which would be significantly less. So hopefully that would help listeners out there who are either involved in a specific acquisition or maybe another acquisition and just want to know what your rights are. And then very briefly before I leave you off, an important thing to know is that, if RBC gives you an employment agreement as the purchaser, you want to have that agreement reviewed because that could certainly include very detrimental things that attempt to negate your past service or limit your severance entitlements or give them the right to make significant changes. And you want to have that reviewed by an employment lawyer, certainly, if that is something that is presented to you.
1-855-821-5900, help@employmentlawyer.ca, and always go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca for more information and to grab hold of that severance calculator as well.